Okay, so we're still, focused on the aftermath of those horrific floods in Texas, which I actually don't think we've gotten to hear anything from you on, so I'm interested to get your take here as well. But we have a lot of questions about DOGE, cuts to National Weather Service and NOAA, the sort of pushing out of some key individuals who should have been involved in warning community members. So you have those, was the forecast, could the forecast have been better if you didn't have the DOGE cuts? Could the warnings have been better if you didn't have the DOGE cuts? Those questions on the front end. Now you have the question, now that you're into the recovery phase, about FEMA's performance. And let me go ahead and put, guys, E2 up on the screen here. There's some significant reporting from the New York Times that FEMA failed to answer thousands of calls from flood survivors. And this is directly attributable to the fact that Kristi Noem at DHS, which runs FEMA, they allowed these call center contracts to lapse. They were not extended. And so you had a loss of personnel. It's personnel who would ordinarily be the ones fielding these calls at this critical moment. And so you've just been hit with a flood, you've lost everything that you owned, you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I interface with the federal government, et cetera. Most people, the way they go about trying to navigate that bureaucracy and that paperwork is through this hotline, these call centers, and they did not have nearly the personnel in place to handle this flood of calls. In addition, there was another program previously in place where FEMA would actually go door to door to people who had been impacted by any sort of natural disaster or flood in this instance and help them be able to, organize their paperwork and figure out what they could apply for, et cetera. That program has also been cut. Kristi Noem under fire and trying to answer for this on the Sunday shows. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what she had to say.
A rule that you recently implemented. It reportedly requires that every FEMA contract, every grant over $100,000 be personally approved by you. Now, officials within the agency have told multiple news outlets that the policy led to a slower deployment of some FEMA resources, including urban search and rescue crews. So let me just ask you, did your policy delay some of the critical response resources on the ground in Texas?
Those claims are absolutely false. Within just an hour or two after the flooding, we had resources from the Department of Homeland Security there helping those individuals in Texas.
There were resources that were deployed, but I think the question revolves around, were all of the necessary resources deployed? According to reports, multiple FEMA officials said you didn't approve the deployment of these FEMA search and rescue teams until Monday, which was 72 hours after the flood started.
Nope, they were deployed immediately as soon as they were requested.
When was the request put in and when did you approve it? And is this accurate that there's this $100,000 sign-off? The
$100,000 sign-off is for every contract that goes through the Department of Homeland Security.
So you did implement
that's
that policy.
It's an accountability on contracts that go forward.
When did you get the request for these search and rescue teams and other resources?
They were immediately responded.
What
yes,
day?
And everyone will tell you.
According to reports, they didn't arrive until
the governor will say, well, this is what I think is really unfortunate.
And Saagar, Trump, of course, had originally been really sort of ideologically opposed to FEMA at all, wanted to send all disaster relief to the states. In the wake of this, he seems to be backing off of some of those more maximalist demands. But there's no question that FEMA, National Weather Service, they have been impacted by the DOGE cuts. And, some very serious questions being raised here about the impact that had specifically in this horrific instance.
You can roll the tape. What did I say after the airplane disaster?
Yeah.
I was like, it's coming. I was like, you don't want to do it. It's the last part of the government that you actually want to cut. NOAA and the National Weather Service and all these other places. But, eventually they just forget. This also gets to a basic issue of competence. And I've also been thinking about this with regard to the Trump administration. Yeah. I actually can't underestimate how incompetent they have acted. Just look at the last 6 months. Elon's in charge, now he's not in charge, where the tariffs on, where the tariffs off. You can't look at the current cabinet, and except in some very few cases, and be like, yeah, they've got it. Like, these are the guys who are really up to the job. I said that about Kristi Noem, I remember. I was like, this lady was the governor of South Dakota, which, no offense, South Dakota, nobody even lives there. And now you're in charge of the largest law enforcement agency in the world. What? Like, in what possible way are you qualified? I don't think that she's handled herself
good at playing
all that
dress
way.
up.
But that's my
That's our
point, right? I think,
qualification.
that shit matters whenever you have a full-blown flood. By the way, I've been to a lot of those areas. It's horrible. I mean, it's devastating, what happened there. It's still like an open question. Is the whole National Weather Service, was reading the TikTok about the alert went out, but it was at 4 a.m. And there's some open questions about the state agency. And, there's some stuff here about the camp, Camp Mystic, and how their permits kept getting delayed. It's a slow-rolling disaster, actually, if you kind of look at the background of the way this all happened. So nobody's like directly attributed, but let's not forget, it's July 14th. You and I are talking right now. When's hurricane season, people? Do the math.
Yeah.
You are only one disaster away from a catastrophic news cycle for the administration. If there's even one way that the Weather Service and all those people didn't do something, and there's another, remember Hurricane Sandy? That was a disaster. It came out of nowhere, billions of dollars in damage. FEMA shit the bed on that one too. I can't even really think of the last time they did a great job in response to a hurricane thing. And that becomes like serious political issue, which they can directly trace back to Doge. They have them literally bragging about it on camera. And especially now with, now that the fact that the Doge project has basically been a complete failure, they just open themselves up for any future airline disaster, any future storm, any future hurricane, and then they don't have the best and the brightest who are in charge right now.
Well, and to that point, they had someone who had emergency management experience in place at FEMA. Originally, they had a guy named Cameron Hamilton. He was a Navy SEAL, former combat medic, former director of the Emergency Medical Services Division at the Department of Homeland Security. He got fired a month ago because he dared to testify to Congress that he thought FEMA should continue to exist. So he got fired, and they put in his place this guy named David Richardson, who there was all kinds of reporting. He has no background in this whatsoever. There was all kinds of reporting about how he didn't know anything. He was like, oh, when's hurricane season, or what even is hurricane season? Just a complete and utter moron, which is why you haven't seen him at all. Think about the good job Brownie situation. At least Brownie was out there trying to do something. This guy, we don't even see him. He doesn't even exist. Because even this administration is smart enough to realize, this is going to be a train wreck if we put this dude out there, because he doesn't know shit about shit. So that's the guy who you have running FEMA. FEMA, I'm sure, has its problems. I have no doubt about it that you could do a better job with disaster recovery. But you are just making it so much worse and degrading its capabilities in ways that are blatantly obvious. Not only do you have this call center fiasco, but you also had some reporting, independent reporting as well, about how the number of FEMA staffers that were on the ground were next to nothing compared to what it would have been ordinarily in previous circumstances. So it's just, this is an area where it felt like during all the Doge chainsaw madness, they just thought that nothing was ever going to matter. It just was this sense of unreality, we can just slash and burn wherever and whatever without any regard, not even trying to do it in an intelligent way. And that there's never going to be any impact from that. And this is in the most horrific way possible. You got 130 plus dead now and 160 still missing. Reality hitting you in the face of no, actually, sometimes government functions are literally life and death.
Oh, absolutely. It didn't take a genius or anybody even remotely familiar with everything. And I think Doge will continue to be a noose around the neck of the administration for the next 4 years. You're just waiting. One disaster. Look at the Air India crash. That came out of nowhere. You had a Boeing 787 that crashed in the middle of a city, according to pilot error. Imagine if something like that happened here today. I literally, on my way here, I saw a plane. It was maybe 20, 30 feet above me as it was landing over Ronald Reagan. And I was like, I don't know about this, man.
No offense to Air India, but don't fly.
Oh, no, offense to Air India.
It's scary.
Offense. Sue me. You're the worst airline.
Some of my
nobody flight
experiences are on Air India, so avoid.
Yeah, sorry, Air India. You guys got to up your game. It's terrible. Anybody fly Air? Maybe if they have a deal, but honestly, at this point, I'm not flying it anytime soon. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show. Help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.